Hello, everyone. We'll give another minute. Hope everyone's eating their delicious lunch. Excited to chat with y'all today. There's also about a slight delay, so when you send in your questions, I'll try to keep an eye out and answer them as we go. So I hope we can make this interactive. Cool. Welcome everyone who's joining. Thanks for spending your lunch with us. Cool. Okay. We'll get started. Let me share my screen. Awesome. Well, thanks everyone for joining. Please make sure you eat lunch, stay strong and healthy. Today we'll go over data mesh and multi-tenancy and how that's achieved in Mage. So a few things about data mesh. It's some principles is having self-serve infrastructure. Each team can operate autonomously, using data as a product, governance, shared governance across each of the tenants. Also being able to have data management across different data sets, overall monitoring, shared monitoring, but also specific monitoring for each tenant as well as security roles, access, permission controls at each tenant level, but also at a global level. And so some of these are achieved through Mage in several ways. So one of the big things that we do to support multi-tenancy is what we call workspaces. So for those who are unfamiliar with Mage, you have an application of Mage running on some environment of yours, and you can have developers develop on that environment, or that environment can be specifically for, let's say, a testing staging server or a production server. With workspaces, you have a single environment, so it's a single cluster, has X amount of resources, let's say 8 gigabytes of memory, 2 CPU. And what you can do here is you can actually create individual workspaces, which are containers with shared dedicated resources, shared environment variables, but each container has its own, also, it's overrides the main environment variables and can also have its own file structure. And you can set this up in a way where it could be by team or individual developers. So let's say we had a operations team or a marketing finance team, or let's create a new one. Let's call it the what's a good one? Let's call it the engineering team. And here you could configure, you can override the environment variables. So let me do, like, for example, the test, something like this. And then you can add in other configurations, whatever's available in Mage or environment variables that you need throughout your application. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. Create. And so I've created several ones already right here, and each of them, they're namespaced. And so let's go ahead and take a look at each of these. Oh, wait a second. I didn't switch my screen. 1 second. Okay, here. So I just created one, but let me create another one. We'll call it the developer devs. And then here you can configure your container like this. So environments. So this is how you can override your environments. So test value 1, 2, 3. And then I can add in anything else I have. Maybe I have an API token. So API key, and then value, ABC, like that. I created several ones already. So we'll go ahead and take a look at each one. And this is the central view. So let's say you had a data platform team, or you have a centralized data engineering team. They can monitor and they can manage all of the workspaces in here. And so let's go ahead and take a look at one of the marketing or the finances teams. So here is one of the workspaces. And then let me show you another one. Here is another one. And they can all have separate deployment settings, separate files, structure, all of that. So here, let me go ahead and show you for this one. We are, for marketing, we are going to deploy from a different repository. You might have a mono repo or single repositories for each one. So here I'm going to, the repository for the finance or the marketing team is called Mage Pro demo. And then I can, here's the branch. And so the team that's working in marketing can have their own deployment, can have their own file structure. So if we take a look here as well, we can see I have different files. I'm marketing. So here are my pipelines. Right here are my pipelines. There's a bunch there. And then let's go hop into the finance teams. Let's take a look at their settings. And this is all, again, all in one single environment. So here, the finance team has the machine learning repository. And here are their deployments. Looks good. And if we take a look, let's take a look at the files. Awesome. Okay, so you have different files. And so let's say you use this for multiple developers when they're making changes, even if it's the same project, any changes I make are local to my workspace. And so I can work off of a feature branch while you work off of your own feature branch. And then we can then deploy to the same repository, make code changes, PR requests, merge it into the main branch, and then deploy in a different environment. So then here, now that we can show that it's all separated, part of a data mesh, our principle is also being able to have shared governance or shared products or in this case, shared blocks and pipelines. And so how you can achieve this is from the main workspace that I had here, where you're able to configure what files are shared, what files aren't. You can even have templates that are shared as well. So let's go ahead and see what that looks like with shared templates. So if we go here, I'm on another workspace. I'm on a third workspace. This is called the operation teams workspace. And so I can go ahead and click on new pipeline. And if you look here, these 1, 2, 3, 4, these are shared across all the workspaces. And so you can click here, and this is a template that was created from the central data engineering team. And then from here, we can create and use that template. Blocks as well can be shared, or you can have shared blocks that are scoped to a specific workspace. Now, then what I want to show you next is the shared monitoring. So let's say each workspace will have its own set of pipelines, runs, triggers, things like that. So this one is for the marketing team. I have some failures here, some running well. And then if we take a look at the finance team's runs and triggers, they have their own set as well. But and each one can monitor it themselves and have the alerts specific to their pipelines and their project. But the centralized data team can monitor it all and make sure they keep track of the overall health of the system. And so from here, you can see the runs across all the workspaces. Have a lot of red and some green, and then you could drill down by week, today, etc. And they can also then set alerts. Let's say they don't set the alerts for individual pipelines, but they can set alerts for overall uptime, memory usage, or CPU, things like that. And finally, from this central view, from the platform team's view, they can manage the permissions across all the workspaces. So here, there's two places to do this. So here's where you can create the permissions for who can launch these workspaces. So think of it as the permissions for admins of those workspaces or tenants. And I can add, some user here. Let's do develop engineering admin, eng.admin at mage.ai, and some very hard password, something like that. Actually, I don't remember the password I typed, but you get the idea. Then within each workspace, we can configure the permissions. So if we go here, so we have all these users across all the workspaces, and we can create a new user. So let's do awesome eng at mage.ai. I need a hard password. Okay. A, B, C, exclamation. Actually, okay. Pretend I have a password, a good password. I don't remember any good ones. So then from there, we're able to grant permissions and roles. So let's say this user, we want to give this user editor access, or we could be even more granular. So we can create roles and permissions. So let's go to permission. Let's create a permission. So in Mage, there's over 100 API endpoints, and you can create a permission for each one. So let's say we did pipeline. Maybe this user can only view a list of the pipelines. They can't write, so we'll disable all writes, but we'll enable all reads. And then we can save this one. We can create a role from this permission. So permission 77, let's do pipeline viewer only. And then we attach it to this permission. And then we can then go to this user and say, okay, they can only limited viewer somewhere here. I can't find it, but yes, it's like one of these. I think it's that one. Okay, and then save. And that's how you can manage access across all the workspaces. And finally, the last piece that we haven't quite rolled out yet is the being able to the data catalog aspect. That's still in the works, but how that would work across all of these is, sorry, let me share the screen. So each workspace will have its own access to, let's say, the database or tables that their workspace is configured for, and then they'll be able to register that data in a shared catalog. And depending on the permissions for each workspace that's set at the level of let's say the platform team, that available data can then be discovered either across different teams or the table is specific for that team. But that's still in the works, so that's not rolled out quite yet. And that's how some of these principles of data mesh is implemented, or how you can implement them with Mage, with the setup. Cool. Let me see. I think there were some questions here. Okay, let's do this. Let's take a look at some of these questions. So workspace, its own pod. Yes, every workspace. Yes, that's correct. Every workspace is its own pod in the cluster. Yep. Oh, Caleb. Workspaces are a part of are a part of Pro. Yes. Let's see. Cool. Environment variables shared within a workspace. Yes. So the main workspace where, let's say, the platform team is managing, when that cluster is deployed, those environment variables are for that machine, that main machine. And then for each workspace, they have their own set of environment variables that they access. And the environment variables from the parent aren't shared to the child. And that way, well, actually, you can share them down, but then each workspace, so we have the finance and then we have the marketing, those aren't shared. Thanks, Caleb, for the question. And Dave. Oh, hey, Dave. Good to see you. Tuan, thanks for the question as well. Awesome. Well, I'll wait a little bit more if anyone has questions. Or also, reach out and we'd love to help you get set up on it as well, or help you think about how data mesh and multi-tenancy can work with your current setup. You can continue leaving comments and questions, and we'll make sure we answer all of them. Awesome. More coming in. Thanks. What is the most common? Okay, so what is the most common workspace structure for developers? Single shared workspace or one for each developer? It is a single workspace for each developer. And that way you have your own local changes so that you're working off your own feature branch while someone else is working off of theirs. And that way you can all develop on shared cloud resources and deploy your changes separately to different branches on your Git provider. Is there a way to self-host Mage with Pro Enterprise features? Yes. So with Mage Pro, we have 4 deployment models. The fully managed service, which we manage on our cloud, hybrid deployment, where The data plane is deployed into your private network, and the management, the upgrades, all of that, monitoring, observability, uptime, all of that is still handled on our servers, so the control plane. And then there's a private cloud deployment where the control plane and the data plane is deployed into your private network. And then there's on-prem if you need completely air-gapped and a completely air-gapped environment of Mage running. I hope you upload these to YouTube for the times we can't make it. Absolutely. We make sure that all our videos and everything that we create to help others, that it's available for all eternity. So we'll definitely upload it. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending your lunch with us. Hope we can all have lunch together sometime. I would love to treat you all out. Keep leaving comments, keep leaving questions, and we'll answer all of them. And again, if you want to learn how to implement this, we'd love to help you implement this with your current setup. Thanks, everyone. Hope you have a great dinner.